This is Hannibal here from the HannibalTV.com with my daily wrestling news update. Just got in from my run. It's 1 degree out there, very windy. It was a really unpleasant run. Can't wait for the weather to warm up here. And can't wait even more for the gyms to open, which, by the way, speaking of the coronavirus causing the gyms to close here, the British Prime Minister made a full recovery at 55 years old from the coronavirus. So he joins the 98% of people that recover from the virus. So the big news of the day on Thursday was NXT defeated AEW for the second week in a row in viewership. And for the second week in a row, they still lost to AEW in ratings. So NXT did a 0.17 rating and 692,000 viewers. AEW did about 9,000 less viewers, 683,000 viewers, and a 0.25 rating. So even if you combine both shows, not a lot of viewers there watching, especially considering the lockdown. Everybody's home. These ratings were declining even before the lockdown. So interest is definitely going away in both of those products. They did cut over 20 wrestlers from WWE this week, and many producers as well. They do cut wrestlers every year after Wrestlemania. They always cut talent. So don't forget that. Yes, it's also cost-cutting measures because they're not running house shows. So they're not getting any of the merchandise sales from house shows. And also they don't need as many producers because they're only doing TV tapings right now. Some of those producers might get their jobs back. Some of those wrestlers, most of them were dead weight, but there were about a handful that might get their jobs back if they don't go to AEW. I'm really surprised that they didn't release Sylvain Grenier from his producer role or Lars Sullivan from his wrestler role, because Sylvain Grenier was part of the concussions lawsuit. And he's probably the least qualified of all those producers to be a producer. But then again, he's buddies with Pat Patterson. And Lars Sullivan, not only did he make all those bigoted remarks, but you search his name, all the gay porn stuff pops up. And on top of that, he's injury prone. So those are two guys you'd think they would want to cut loose. Roberto Bravo just tipped me $1.99 and said, will New Japan benefit from the WWE cuts? Well, Dave Meltzer did point out on the Wrestling Observer Radio this week that the Japanese companies are really hurting right now because they don't get a lot of money, if any, from TV deals. They get their money from live gates. So yes, obviously, probably Gallows and Anderson are going to go back to New Japan, maybe a few more, but they will benefit, of course. AEW will benefit by getting some of those names of the handful of top names. Not even a handful, really. There's who? Gallows, Anderson, Luke Harper's old partner. I think his name's Eric Rowan. Kurt Angle, but Kurt Angle can't really wrestle anymore. He'd be good to pop a rating one night for AEW, but long term, I don't think he'd make much of a difference. At this point in his career, WWE was only using him on 205 Live as a commentator, and apparently nobody watches 205 Live. It never makes the network rankings. Al made a comment here, Lars is probably Pat Patterson's boy toy. Well, you never know. Patrick Rose says wrestling just isn't the same anymore. No, it's not. That's why I'm not really a fan anymore. There are some good companies out there. PCW Ultra is a good company, but it's being affected by this lockdown. MLW, from what I understand, I haven't seen too much of it, but it's probably the best from an in-ring and writing standpoint. MLW is probably the best company out there. Speaking of MLW, I interviewed Alicia Atout, the announcer from MLW, today. I still haven't slept, so it's still Thursday to me. And that full interview is posted. It's about 40 minutes long. I also posted an interview with Wavell Star, who is a great wrestler from the Stampede days. He's had many WWE matches. He was in Ohio Valley Wrestling, but he got screwed over. WWE was seriously considering bringing him back in probably around 2006-ish, but they changed their mind and brought Tatanka back instead. And like they've usually for ethnic stars, they don't usually have too many more than one. Tony Atlas has even said that it's always been like that. And by that point, they really did nothing with Tatanka, and he was pretty much stale by that time. Wavell could have been a big star. So I encourage people to check out that interview too. And speaking of MLW, Selena De La Renta, another manager from MLW, I interviewed last week. That's up there too. So take a look at that. And Stan Corney says the Von Erichs are also in MLW. He says they should join AEW. Who knows? Right now, AEW is, I don't like the product. I'll be perfectly honest. I don't like the AEW product. The Von Erichs probably have a good deal in MLW. They may as well stay there and grow with MLW, in my opinion. I did post a video yesterday about Zack Ryder, my situation, why I didn't personally like him or his little buddy. Some people said, well, maybe they were just playing a rib on you, Devon. No, they weren't playing a rib on me. They had malicious intent when they agreed to give me a ride to a practice and then didn't show up. That was malicious. They never apologized after. We never really talked again after. And when you're a non-contract guy like me, training at a development territory, basically taking bumps for the developmentally contracted wrestlers, putting your bodies on the line for them and actually paying to do so, it looks really bad if you're not signed yet and you're showing up 45 minutes late to practice. So they definitely had malicious intent. And yeah, I do hold a grudge over that, but that's not why I don't think he's an entertaining wrestler. I've never been a fan of his to begin with. Has nothing more to do with that. And he had a long run in WWE. He was signed since 2005 or so. So that's 15 years. I saw on a pay sheet in 2018, he made $400,000 downside guarantee. So he probably made more than that with merchandise and bonuses. So I don't feel bad for a lot of these guys that make hundreds of thousands of dollars for years and then get let go. They had good runs. It's honestly, a fan commented this and I agree with it. They said WWE should let over half their roster go because let's face the facts here. They're not getting ratings. The ratings are dropping. You can say it's just the writing all you want, but let's face the facts here. They do have some good top talent, but a lot of the talent sucks. That's my opinion of it. So yeah, I would say get rid of more than half the roster. I agree on that. Shake the whole thing up. They're not going to do that. I don't think they even released over 30 wrestlers, and you have to think they probably have at least around 100 development wrestlers alone. And there's NXT, SmackDown, and Raw. So there's probably 100 main roster wrestlers too. If you want to count NXT, the ones that are actually on TV week after week as main roster because they're on network television. So, yeah. Stan Corney has another comment. The WWE writers misuse the talent. They need to get rid of writers. I don't know about that. Like, the writers, I agree with. The writing teams suck. But AEW doesn't have writers, and their show is just as bad to me. AEW is horrible. Nobody sells anymore. MMA Dog says. Big Richard says Ryder and Hawkins tried to sabotage me, plain and simple. They viewed me as a threat. I agree on that. And in retrospect, I was really mad. And also, I was in Puerto Rico at the time, and I had a paying wrestling job in Puerto Rico. So I had budgeted to be in Atlanta for a month and see how it would go. In retrospect, I should have stayed there longer. I probably would have ended up with a contract around 2006. Ultimately, in 2009, I got my contract, but if I got it earlier, I never would have had that match in 2007 with Abdullah the Butcher, where he infected me with hepatitis C, which cost my contract when I did get it to be rescinded. But it's all good. My calling is obviously being a reporter and interviewer. I really enjoy it. And who knows? If I get back into the ring, like, it would probably be as an MMA. I might have like 1 to 3 MMA fights in the future. You never know. But right now, I need to have the friggin' gyms open so I can actually train properly. I am using my punching bag, doing push-ups, squats, sit-ups, running. I run about 10 miles 5 days a week, but it's not a substitution for weights. Lateef Reed says, based on the goofy shit they say on Twitter, unscripted, I can see why WWE micromanages the promos and don't let them say stupid shit on TV. And don't forget that, yes, writers, maybe a Ric Flair, a Hulk Hogan, a Rock, a Steve Austin, Randy Orton, Chris Jericho don't need writers, but there's a lot of people that are new to wrestling that have no wrestling experience that have been signed straight to a development contract from either amateur wrestling, bodybuilding, failed football player, whatever. They hire people with no experience that don't know how to cut promos. Those people need writers. Now, I'm not saying they need Hollywood writers. Back when wrestling was at its best, what was it? Patterson and Bruce Pritchard and Vince McMahon were basically booking the whole show. So I don't know. But then again, back in those days, the wrestlers were a lot better. They had years and years and years of experience in the territories, and WWE went around picking the top guys. So again, a lot of this falls on the talent too. Trust me, no matter what gimmick I'm given, I could get over. I know how to get over. I'll answer a couple more questions. Someone says I do a good job with wrestling interviews. Thank you. Little Tumbler says I'm one of the best wrestling YouTubers out there. Thank you very much. Big Beefs 35 says Helms was in the business for 20 years or so. But with all due respect to Shane Helms, he's a producer, but was like, you also have to think sometimes the producers were never stars themselves, really. Shane Helms was an opening match guy, undercard guy. How is he going to teach the talent to be main event level stars? I don't know what his job was exactly, but you also have to think of that, like reasons why they let go some of these producers. Charles Genova, what's my opinion of gay people involved in wrestling? I don't care whatsoever. If you're talking about the old stuff that happened where there was actually sexual harassment involving people in power that were of that sexual way, fine. But wrestling has a lot of gay people in it. And apparently it's got a lot of bisexual people in it too. So whatever. I don't really care what people's sexuality are. Who should Netflix make a biopic about? Biblo Body Began says Bruiser Brody for sure. Someone says they need Heyman and Sullivan to pull the characters out of the wrestlers. Well, I think Paul Heyman is a Raw writer right now. Would I interview Kurt Angle? Someone's asking. Yes, of course I would. I don't know if he's in my budget, but I would. I actually used to like him. Do I think WWE is an essential business? John Easton says. No, I do not. I don't like it at all that they're deemed an essential business. And as I found out last week, I got a cancer patch on me that could easily be cut out and have the issue gone. But the damn cancer doctors here are on lockdown. Yet we're being told that wrestlers are essential. It makes no sense at all. And I also heard like a medical expert the other day saying if people wear masks, it makes a massive difference for transmission. So maybe instead of a total lockdown, they should just have something in effect where they force people to wear masks and they could still work in certain situations, because it seems weird that brain doctors, chemotherapy doctors, cancer skin doctors are not working here in Canada. Surgeons are not working. And yet this 98% of people are recovering from this virus. Yes, I understand it's contagious, but cancer doctors should be essential. That is much more deadly. Would I interview Jamie Dundee? Yes, I would. Yes, I would. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of his, and I don't know. I have seen some of his interviews where he's totally out of it. I don't know if I'd want to deal with him in that state, but who knows? Charles is asking me, I'm Canadian. What city do I live in? This capital city of Canada, Ottawa, Canada, which is still very cold, although the snow is finally gone. So we'll close it at that note. I'm interviewing Marlena tomorrow, Terry Reynolds. So that one will be up on patreon.com/the Hannibal TV by the weekend. The Val Venus interview is on there full. The Buff Bagwell interview is on there full. Jacques Rougeau, I'm interviewing next week. So, yeah. Sean Deflin, it is essential that the economy dies so they can sweep in and steal everything from you. I don't know. I don't know about that, but the economy is going down here for sure. I hate to see it. I don't feel sorry for the WWE guys out of work that were making lots of money